be slanging, cheating and lying, robbing and killing, living so dangerous, women that claim it, steadily crime. Man, I don't get it, he not an angel, at any angle. I do you right, and grow your mental, you cannot tame him. Man, I won't game you, keep with this vibe, love the big women, trill nigga like Bron. Wow, used to fuck about a ton. Wow, no longer on the run. Wow, good love and give you strong. Wow, so you keep it on your waist. Wow, man, your life still a waste. Wow, best man win day. Wow, BBW's a pay.
What up though, I am your boy King Richard, aka the God of Rap from Creative Minds Entertainment. You know the rest, I ain't gotta do it by now.
Let's talk basketball once again.
Every time I make a sports video, mainly a basketball video, I notice that the haters can't help but to do what they do best, which is hate. Since my boy LeGoat has been on the tear this year, as usual, only 20 years of this, I mean, how could we possibly do any better than what we're doing? Yet I notice a lot of people still blaming everything on LeBron. They win, he gets no credit. They lose, they blame him. He's injured, they blame him. They don't make a trade, they blame him. They do make a trade, they blame him. If LeBron James is able to pick all of the players for his team that he wants to, if he has that much power, if he has that much power, why doesn't he pick some better players? Why don't he just pick all the all-stars in the league since he has that much veto power? If he has that much power, why does he not just pick the best players and go out there and win multiple rings all the time? Because the truth of the matter is, you know he doesn't have that much power. Does he have some power or more power than the average player in the NBA? Of course. He is literally the only billionaire playing basketball. If I'm not mistaken, he's the only billionaire playing a professional sport actively. That'll probably never happen again in the history of any sport. A billionaire going out there still playing basketball or playing this professional sport at a high level in year 20 and doesn't have to. Obviously, he doesn't need the money. So it's got to be for the love of the game, right? Wouldn't that be the logical thing? You remember when somebody else played for the love of the game? Who was that? Either way it go, he didn't make the playoffs, and well, it didn't matter because he was just playing for the love of the game. But yet when this guy plays for the love of the game, it's a problem. The foolery, the tomfoolery. But the reason we're here today is to talk more about the haters. Because the haters can't seem to get LeBron James off of their mind. They keep saying that everything that he does doesn't count. He's only achieving these things because of longevity. But last time I checked, longevity is a positive thing. Now we've turned longevity, aka, again, Bronjevity, we've turned Bronjevity into a negative aspect of a player's game. So you're saying that player A plays 10 seasons, averages 35 points, right? Player B plays 20 seasons and averages 31 points. You're telling me player A is a better player than player B. You're telling me it's harder to average 35 points a year for 10 seasons than it is to average 31 points for 20 seasons. That's the common sense that I'm working with these days. Great basketball in the 80s, great basketball in the 90s, great basketball in the 2000s. But see, here's the problem. The 2000s, LeBron played 7 seasons in the 2000s. Before the three-point shooting era. LeBron James has been able to adapt his game in every single era. You act like LeBron James just started playing a couple years ago when they started hoisting up threes like Steph Curry. Everybody just became Steph Curry. The three-point era. LeBron James been playing since 2003. We're in 2023. The NBA has seen ebbs and flows in every era, but at the same time, you gotta understand, it hasn't just been one style of play over the last 20 years. Oh, come on. 2023 basketball is completely different from 2003. We all know that. Certain aspects that I hate about today's game, I'm not gonna even lie. I do wish it was more defense. I wish it was more defense. But the league has to allow that. The league is the problem with that. But in the 90s, I wish it was more offense. In the early 2000s, I really didn't have much of a complaint because it was defense and offense. If anything, it was quite a few bad teams in the early 2000 to 2010 era. I would like to see an era where we have 5 powerhouse teams on the East Coast and 5 powerhouse teams on the West Coast. Like kind of like what the 70s was, where it was like 8 or 9 champions in the 70s. I would like the NBA is close to that right now, talent-wise, but I want to go to something real quick that Luka Doncic said. Luka said it was easier to score in the NBA than it is in EuroLeague. Luka says it. I believe it. He's been doing this thing for a couple of years. We've seen the numbers go up and up over the last couple of years when it comes to scoring. But this is the thing I want y'all to understand. It's easier to score right now, but that also means it's harder to defend. Y'all didn't think about that part. The players are way more skilled from 1 to 10. Players are way more skilled. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean every part of their game is more refined than the 90s or the 2000s, because Tim Duncan would still be Tim Duncan now. Dikembe Mutombo would still be a defensive force. But the problem is they would have to also be dragged out toward the three-point line to play defense, which leaves the paint wide open again. So while somebody like Dennis Rodman can play defense in any era, we know this. If you're a great defender, you're a great defender. But at the same time, he would spend more time outside of the paint, less time in the post, which would make his defense a little bit weaker in that area. And then he would be definitely an offensive liability right now. So when we talk about it being easier to score, it's also harder to defend, because players are more skilled, coming from the AAU all the way to high school to that one and done in college. It's so easy to score, then why aren't Luka, Giannis, Joker, these foreign players, why aren't they winning more championships? If it's so easy, if the NBA is so easy. Now, Giannis didn't say this, Luka did. Giannis has been in the league for like what now? This is like his 8th, 9th year. He's only won 1 championship. He's only been to the finals 1 time. If it was so easy, these players would be going back to back to the finals like you know who. But they aren't. You'll never see a player again make 10 finals in 13 years. It's not happening. You won't see one player be a dynasty. That is a dynasty. 10 years, 10 finals in 13 years, that is definitely a dynasty. And so y'all can keep on hating as he continues to rack up the numbers until he retires. And you'll say, oh man, I didn't know. Every time you look up in the record book, you'll see LeBron James' name. Longevity is not a negative thing. We're trying to now make longevity a bad thing. So we would rather players come in, play 5 or 6 great years and leave out of the NBA, and we consider them legends. But if somebody plays excellent or great for 20 seasons, 15, 18, 19 seasons, we consider them just okay, or they're all right. They don't really count because that's longevity. MJ wouldn't have scored all those points without longevity, would he? Let's not make longevity a negative thing. That's stupid. That's idiotic and illogical. So I am your boy King Richard, and now you know how stupid y'all sound as LeBron haters. Because my boy's still doing his thing. He's gonna continue to do his thing until he retires.